Okay, for this video, I'm going to quickly model how to do sketch to stretch and then how to do lenses for this. First thing is, this is Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. So the first thing I do is, number one, I'm reading the poem. And number two, I'm creating images that I can see in the poem. Number three, I'm doing lenses notes. So I'm going to model for this particular poem, and I'm going to do it for two others. So as I'm reading for this, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? ? Well, the first thing I notice is that there's a speaker who is basically asking the question of, should I compare you to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Okay, well, temperate means not too hot and not too cold. In other words, just right as far as the weather is concerned. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. So I'm thinking of the winds that go by in the springtime, and I'm also thinking of flowers in the spring that usually make their way into growing. But here's the thing, is that the rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Well, what is a lease? It's a time frame. In other words, summer is too short. So as I'm looking at the very first four lines of the poem, I read the poem. These are the images I can see. And then lenses, what I'm looking for when I do lenses, I'm looking for who's the speaker and who are they talking to. The second thing I'm looking for in lenses is what kind of imagery and comparisons are being made. And then the third thing that I'm looking for are patterns, and we'll talk about that shortly. So this is what I did for the first four lines. So here we go. Should I compare you to a summer's day? You're more lovely and more temperate. You're not too hot, too cold. You're better than the spring, where the rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines. Well, that's the sun. It's a metaphor to describe the sun. And often is his gold complexion dim. Well, complexion is face. So sometimes the sun is dim. And every fair from fair sometimes declines. Well, when I look at the word fair, fair equals beautiful. So some people lose their beauty. Sometimes it declines by chance or by nature's changing course untrimmed. As in, as time goes on, people lose their beauty. There we go. Terrible handwriting. But your eternal, your everlasting summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that beauty, that fair that you own. So when I summarize it, like, you'll never lose your beauty. And the eternal summer is yet another metaphor. Nor shall death brag that thou wanderest in his shade. So I envision the Grim Reaper, holding up his sickle, and he's holding that up. Here's his little hood. And it says, death, I cannot brag that you are in his shade, wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines of time thou growest. So eternal means never ending, and then lines. Lines kind of can mean two things here. Lines are like lines of time, as in like following a thread of time, but lines can also mean like lines of poetry, which is, we've got 14 of them here. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so as long as these eyes, I'm going to draw a pair of eyes, as long as these eyes can see and men can breathe, like this is somebody's mouth, their hot breath coming out of it, right? Breathe. As long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this and gives life to thee. This poem. So as long as everybody can see and read this poem, You are alive. So now I'm going to go back. So what I did is I read the images I could see. I either described them or I drew them. And then the lenses notes. So speaker is talking. We're focusing on imagery and comparisons. Well, first thing, speaker is talking to someone they like. The second thing is they compared to a summer day. Now I'm looking at this part here, but he's saying you're better. You are better. I'm going to do a little semicolon. You are better. Some of the cool metaphors and imagery. The buds of May. The eye of heaven. His face is dimmed. And when I look at such things, this is a metaphor. This is also a metaphor. Face is dimmed is personification. Every fair from fair declines or chance or nature's course. Eternal summer is imagery. Death is personified. And then we have the rhyme couplet at the end. And what we see here is, as long as this poem exists, your beauty will be remembered. So that's essentially what it means to sketch to stretch. As you read, try to create the images. Number 2, make a list of the images that you see. And number 3, come back and reflect on what these things kind of mean. And that's what it takes to really understand this poem.